everyone, and welcome to First Things First. That was the look of, there you go, of realizing a second before the show started that I didn't have a pen. That's the Hall of Famer, Chris Carter. Thank you very much for the pen. This is Nick Wright. We made it to Friday. We started the week down in D.C. at the All-Star Game. We ended right here in New York with a lot of basketball to talk about. Big show today. We are going to touch on the number one reason Boogie decided to go to the Warriors. We are going to discuss whether Julio Jones will be a no-show at Falcons training camp. We'll tell you why. And we'll talk about if the turmoil between Brady and Belichick still exists, and if it does, if it's going to boil over.
Yeah, the reason why Jimmy G left New England.
Oh, it didn't take long. Did not take long. We got it right in there. All right, but we are going to start with basketball. Out west, with a rivalry in the making, when LeBron went to L.A., there was no question the Warriors would be his biggest challenge. They also happened to be his biggest challenge while he was in Cleveland, but you know, proximity. Golden State added another all-star piece in Boogie Cousins. The Lakers added 0 more all-star pieces in the Kawhi loss. So needless to say, it's not going to be easy for the Los Angeles Lakers. But that does not scare Magic Johnson. Take a listen.
I think that, you know, we will look forward to that challenge, right? Everybody expects Golden State to win again. But I would love to have the challenge and to play them in the Western Conference Finals,
right?
If we could get to that position. So I'm a competitor, so I'm not scared of Golden State. I'm not worried about Golden State. They don't keep me up at night. I know that we have a really solid team, and a good team, and a competitive team, and a tough-minded team. And we got guys now who are winners.
All right, so let's break that down a bit. You have the Lakers and you have the Golden State Warriors. How big, CC, is the gap between these two teams?
Well, this is the thing, and I can't do it because I have to give the Warriors credit for, like, who they are. Not just as an organization, because when the ownership took over, it was not the organization that we consider the Golden State Warriors today. Like, they have spent a lot of money. They've made a lot of good decisions. They made some tough decisions. Mark Jackson, to bring him back, to bring Steve Kerr, chance him out, first time being a coach. What about the overall development of all those players? Forget about before when they got KD, but Steph. There was a point in Steph's career where, man, people were wondering, what kind of NBA player is he going to be?
And just the choosing the players in the draft.
Yes.
Like Oklahoma City, when they had KD, Russ, and Harden, got a ton of credit for drafting those guys. And those were great picks. But those guys were all top 5 picks. Steph was taken after a couple point guards. Clay was taken outside of the top 8. Draymond, a second-round pick. Like that, the organically grown Warriors, it's the development and saying, we want these guys. How about not trading Clay for Kevin Love?
Yes.
Back when that was at the time, people were like, how could you not trade him for Kevin Love? Jerry West actually stepped in and said, you're not trading him for Kevin Love. That's stuff they deserve a ton of credit for.
Yeah, so when you start breaking down, like, how close are these teams, Houston is a little bit different. They got some accomplished players. They got some players, even their coach, that have gotten really, really close. So when you try to compare Houston and Golden State, it's a different comparison. But where the Lakers are, absent of LeBron, they don't have a proven coach. All their young players, I can't just give them credit for player development. I can't give, man, Steph was not the shooter 5 years ago he is today. He's so much better. Why? Because of the work, because of even having setbacks, even the overall perseverance. His first couple finals, not spectacular. So I can't move the Lakers in the same class as Golden State because it takes too much hard work. They've made too many good decisions. They have too many, I'm talking about once every generation type players. I don't know what Ingram's going to be. Lonzo Ball, what kind of player is he going to be? Can LeBron, in this growing stage with these young players, what is LeBron going to do? You know, is he going to play more in the post? Is he going to handle the ball? So, no, man, Golden State is in a class by themselves. Now, I do believe that the Lakers are 1 or 2 players away from being in the conversation. But if they were to be one of the final 4 teams in the West, to me, that's not a bad season.
Listen, if they had added Kawhi this week instead of him going to the Raptors, then we can start to have this conversation.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So here is the hierarchy in the West. Golden State is up here. I think Golden State got better this offseason. I think the Rockets, due to age and atrophy, got a little bit worse. So the Rockets are right here. And then there's 5 teams right there. Okay, so who are the Lakers competing with? The Spurs, who got better in an odd way compared to the Spurs from last year because they're adding DeRozan in a spot where they didn't have Kawhi Leonard last year. Oklahoma City, we know where they were. I think they will still be right around that same place, and I think the addition of Dennis Schroeder is good for them. How about Utah? You know how I feel about young players, and even if you don't add a guy that we expect the great young players to get better, Utah, and then there's Portland still lurking. That's not even to mention Minnesota, Denver, teams that I think will be a tick below. So the question is, to me, will the Lakers be at the top of that group of 5 as the 3 seed? Or will they be closer to the bottom of that group of 5 as the 6 or 7 seed? Like, that's the question I have right now. Not about the Lakers versus Golden State. They do not have the personnel.
But is it possible to, if you squinted just a little, say maybe the Lakers are a Warriors injury away or an Ingram having a monster year away? I mean, you talked about all the potential that the Warriors had when we didn't know what Steph was going to become and we weren't sure if we agreed with the Clay trade. But all of a sudden, you have a ton of young potential on this team who are a season or 2 away from having, like, breakout seasons and turning into a shell or perhaps who they really are, plus LeBron at the helm with all that. And now you're a year away from maybe landing a big free agent. I mean, realistically, how far away are they?
We can squint, and it's hard to see one of the Lakers being as good as Klay Thompson individually. I can squint, and I got hellacious vision. It's hard for me to see anyone being a better pro than Steph. I haven't even got to KD yet. And I can squint. I believe that Walton as a coach is going to work out. But to think he's going to be as good as Steve Kerr has been, that's just really, really hard. So the task is, it's a monumental task of the things that they would have to achieve. They could have spectacular second seasons and still not be where Golden State is at this point.
And the guy that people will point to on the Lakers, other than LeBron, obviously, that could be the star, the second star is Brandon Ingram. And I just want to caution that a touch. We were in the office this morning, actually, because one of our producers, Deontay, yesterday was tweeting about Carmelo Anthony should have won Rookie of the Year over LeBron his rookie year. So I actually looked into Carmelo and LeBron's rookie seasons, and CC, your stepson, Austin, was doing the same thing. Carmelo Anthony as a rookie averaged 21 points a game. 21 points a game. Why am I bringing that up? Because he turned into a professional scorer from the moment he got there. Brandon Ingram as a rookie averaged 8. In his second year, he averaged 16. Typically, the guys that have that trajectory aren't going to be superstar caliber players. Now, they might make an all-star game one day.
Yes.
But unless you come into... Kevin Durant came into the league as a 20-point-a-game guy.
Yes, there are very few Kawhi Leonards.
Right, and there's very few Giannis's. Like, Giannis, you understood why it took him a long time. He was coming from a different country.
Yeah, he hadn't been exposed to basketball at this level, yes.
Brandon Ingram went to Duke, like he's from here, he came in, and so we're going to see progression, but the superstar leap, if it happens, it's going to take a Kawhi progression, a slow but steady build. What the Lakers are, and I mentioned it last week, CC mentioned it this week, and now the Lakers are talking about themselves, could they present a small ball lineup to combat Golden State? Like, right now it would be Lonzo, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, LeBron. Until you flip out one of those guys for a Kawhi, what it is, it's, to use a Spades term, I got 1 in 4 possibles. I got LeBron that I know can do that, and Lonzo probably can. But, like, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram is your small ball 3, Kyle Kuzma, okay, maybe eventually at some point. But in 2018-19, when the Warriors are a well-oiled machine who just added an additional engine, that's not who the Lakers are competing with. Lakers got to worry about being better than Portland. They got to worry about being better than Utah. Like, if they can steal a game from Golden State, if they're lucky enough to play them in the playoffs, all right, we'll get there when we get there. But that's not, I think, the realistic discussion right now.
The death lineup?
The death lineup, eventually they're going to get to that. Eventually they're going to get to that, but you need another superstar. You need another guy that can command a double team. You need another guy that can get you a bucket in the fourth quarter. Because the way the NBA is situated now, we can have a lot of conversations about the regular season, I know it is still somewhat important, but to me, when you break down these comparisons, it's about what's going to happen in the postseason. What would the Lakers look like? And the person I've tried to avoid talking about is Lakers, as good as they want to be, they still don't have an answer for Kevin Durant.
Right, and that's why if you want to talk about a death lineup with them or their version of it, if you flip out in that lineup I just said, Kyle Kuzma for Kawhi Leonard, and then all of a sudden, LeBron's your 5.
Yes.
LeBron will eat Draymond's lunch. Kawhi can check Kevin Durant, and then you're talking about Ingram in year 3, because we're talking about a year from now. Or Ingram in year 4, pardon me. Lonzo in year 3. Like, okay, now we can start to actually say, like you said, you might not even have to squint. Yeah. And you can say, we can figure this out.
Yeah. Right now, Golden State are grown men.
Sure.
And the Lakers are kids.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Youngest team LeBron's played on since his rookie year.
Yeah. Nick will call you when they grow up.
Okay. Chris Mannix is going to stop by a little later. We'll discuss this further. Coming up, though, a little football. James Harrison with some harsh words for Mike Tomlin. We'll hear about that next. First things first. Back here on First Things First, we're going viral. Check this out. Viral sensation and incoming Georgetown freshman Matt McClung showing off his game at a D.C. Pro-Am League.
That guy's going to be fun to watch in college.
Yeah.
Going to be fun to watch for a number of years at Georgetown.
Yeah. Bring some eyes back to the Hoyas.
There you go.
Man, that would be the first time, too. People who watch basketball, they know. First time Georgetown had someone look like
quite like that.
Be a star. Plenty of students look like that.
Yeah.
Not on the basketball team.
No.
Yesterday, linebacker James Harrison was a guest on Undisputed, also on The Herd, and he had some harsh words for Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin. He said that Bill Belichick was a much better coach and that Tomlin needs, quote, more discipline. Tough words from a tough guy. Cece, what's your reaction to James Harrison's comments on Tomlin needing more discipline?
I've been in and around the NFL since 1987. Long time. Bill Belichick, Bill Walsh, Bill Parcells. Those are the best coaches that I've seen, heard about, or were coached by, had an influence on the game. So when you make a comparison to Bill Belichick, now you might have an historian, they might go back to Vince Lombardi, they might take Chuck Noll, they might take Tom Landry. But Bill Belichick's resume and his coaching ability to coach players and get a player that is not a great player to be a high achiever is comparable to anyone. So I can make an argument against anyone who wanted to defend whoever their specific coach was that he's not as good as Bill Belichick. And my trump card would be, well, okay, who is better at coaching average or bad players? And right there in that category, Bill Parcells and Bill Belichick, they're in a separate class of being able to get the best juice from the grape. That being a free agent, that being a guy from Canada, they have shown through the years that's what they do.
That being a 6th round, 199th overall pick who turns into the most accomplished quarterback ever.
Right. So I don't have a problem with James. I thought Bill Belichick was a better coach than Tomlin. So, no, that doesn't surprise me. Now, when you start breaking down the specifics of it, and James Harris, the reason why he can speak to this is because he spent some time on the other side. And I don't think that James Harris is doing this out of spite, out of ill will towards Pittsburgh because they didn't treat him. James Harris has been a guy that throughout his career, he has told you, regardless if you wanted to hear it, that being comments about the commissioner, that being comments about the way the game is called, the way the game is refereed, the suspensions that were involved in the game, the power that they had at the commissioner's office, he has always told you exactly how he felt. Now, I don't know why people would take it personal to think that, wow, Mike Tomlin, compared to Bill Belichick, needs more discipline. Yeah, you can see how the team is run. You can see their sideline demeanor. You can see by the way the players take the field. You can hear by the comments that come out of the locker room. So, yes, I agree with James Harrison. James Harrison is right about this. This is not a debate.
Oh, well, so listen, I'm glad you said what you said at the front end, because there are certain guys in sports that if you compare anyone to that guy, they're going to fall short. Like, Bill Belichick is, without question, the best coach in the NFL today. And as CC laid out, you can make an argument of him versus any coach in NFL history. Like, we don't need to do it, but you wouldn't necessarily lose that argument, right? You can make the argument, if such a thing exists, he's the best coach ever. So everyone's going to fall short. And I understand why James Harrison would be comparing these two. I know he played briefly in Cincinnati, but you associate him as a Steeler, and then he played with the Patriots at the end of last season. So those are the two coaches. But I don't think Mike Tomlin's a perfect coach. But I do not understand why there seems to be more nonsense surrounding the evaluation of Mike Tomlin than any other coach that has accomplished anything like he has in this league. Like, we don't do this to Sean Payton. We don't do this to Mike McCarthy. Why do I bring those two guys up?
Well, I think that Sean Payton's a little bit different because Sean Payton went through a lot. When they had the suspension and his role he played in the suspension, Sean Payton got criticized an awful lot for not only his on-the-field demeanor, but the things that he knew about that he acted as if he didn't know about.
Sean, you're absolutely right that when Sean Payton has had to deal with this type of noise or bigger noise, it was because, fairly or unfairly, he'd been kicked out of the league for a year. Like, there was a massive scandal associated with him and his football team. But, like, Mike Tomlin's resume, and I picked those two quarterbacks, or those two coaches, by the way, because they also have Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I'm not trying to compare Tomlin to it, because he has had Big Ben his whole time. So you got to bake that into it. But his resume compares favorably to every coach in football except for Belichick. Look at him compared to Sean Payton. We can show you, like, they've coached basically the same number of years. Tom's got a slightly better winning percentage. Their playoff appearances, playoff wins, almost identical. What Tomlin's never had is a bad season. Never been below 8-8. What about Mike McCarthy, who's gotten to have Aaron Rodgers his entire career like Tomlin's had Big Ben? Okay, so, again, better winning percentage, slightly worse playoff resume, except Tomlin's been to 2 Super Bowls and had 0 losing seasons. Like, I don't know why he's the guy we seize on when it comes to coaches that could be better.
We've spoken so much about the Steelers and all the little issues they have and all the, like, you know, the in-family drama and all of it. But the truth is, shouldn't we just take a step back and say, why fix what ain't broken? Yeah, maybe he coaches a little unconventionally. Maybe there is a lack of discipline, if you will. But it somehow works for the Steelers team, who are always there in the end, who always seem to be in the playoff race in some capacity. So I feel like going into this season, it's once again, you know, there's some issue with his disciplinary tactics.
That might be the people picking the players, because Pittsburgh has always had good players. So they've always had a good front office. They've always had stability in the front office. And sometimes you have to look at organizations and you make a comparison with Sean Payton compared to Mike Tomlin. Look at the organization. When Sean Payton took over the organization, where was the organization? All right? They had never won a Super Bowl.
Correct.
All right? So where he took them to, you can't put that on paper. You don't have no graph or anything for that.
No, the Saints were a sad sack organization.
Okay, and also, if you look at the Saints' lack of having a good defense, now you can blame it on the head coach, but his inability to have a great defensive coordinator, they were one of the worst defenses for a period of time. That's what stopped his winning percentage, even though he did have a Hall of Fame quarterback. So a lot of times, it's the stability of the franchise. All right? Pittsburgh Steelers over the last 40 years had 3 coaches. All of them have won. Mike Tomlin, you can't say that he was better or worse than who he preceded in Bill Cowher, because Bill Cowher got criticized an awful lot. I think it's the Pittsburgh job compared to Mike Tomlin being black, or as people looking at it, it's the job in Pittsburgh. That job gets criticized. Bill Cowher got criticized an awful lot. Man, it's a good team. Why can't they get over the hump? Why don't they have playoff success? But when you start talking about the playoffs, all right, it starts getting down to the small little things. It starts about preparation. So it's beyond your talent. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, why would you change what's working? To me, what they have is not working. They've underachieved. They should have achieved more with the collection of players that they have. So I don't believe that it is working.
So, listen, your point about the Saints is a totally fair one, but all the things you're giving the Steelers credit for, The Packers, who are the other team I mentioned on that list, great organization, history of winning, stability at the quarterback position, stability at the head coach for the most part, like even prior to Mike McCarthy with Mike Holmgren there. Like, all those things apply there.
Yeah, I believe Mike McCarthy has gotten substantial amount of criticism, and they have had an injury run since he has been there that's been horrific. I mean, they have some really bad injuries at the most untimely time.
And the other thing is, I don't think they've done the greatest job in the offseason because they hadn't participated in free agency. I understand that.
Yeah, that's their philosophy.
Pittsburgh
has the same philosophy, but they've done better.
They've done better, and they've drafted better, and they've retained their own guys. The point that I just think there is more noise surrounding Tomlin than his performance would warrant. And I also think the part of why haven't they had more success than, again, been to 2 Super Bowls, won the one. Well, the guy we're talking about in Bill Belichick and the team we're talking about and comparing them to, they got to go through them. The only way you can make the Super Bowl out of the AFC typically... Yeah,
somebody show me a graph of the head-to-head, because that would be a tall tale sign.
No, absolutely. But the point is, Belichick is better. And the Patriots are better. But you have to go through them in order to make the Super Bowl out of the AFC. They don't have down years. They make playoffs, double-digit wins every year. The 1 year Brady's hurt, they still win 11 games. So
my argument would be, if you know you got to go through New England, why haven't you put a team on the field that would match up better against them? Because they cannot figure out what New England is doing. And their defense against New England is atrocious.
Didn't you think the team last year matched up really well against New England? We saw them play.
I don't trust that team, Nick. I keep trying to tell you, they're not a disciplined team. They had a tremendous problem in the locker room as far as the national anthem. They had decided as a team, this is pretty simple. We're going to stay in the locker room.
But you put that on the coach? Honestly.
This organization, I do put on the coach. Yep, if you're going to give them credit, let's give them the blame, because the coach can stop a lot of that chaos. Coach being on the field. What about that Baltimore game on the return?
Listen, that was bad.
What's the coach doing on the field?
No doubt, that was bad. That was also 5 years ago. On the anthem thing, I mean, listen, like I said, he's not perfect.
How many years ago did they win the Super Bowl?
They won the Super Bowl 9 years ago. No, agreed. But similar with the Packers and the Saints, by the way. But on the anthem thing, would you also agree, though, the Steelers, the only team that had on the active roster a guy that's a veteran, that was a different situation for them?
You should have took that in consideration. Sure. Like, he should have been the only guy able to come out there compared to your leader, Ben Roethlisberger, tried to steal his shine.
Right.
The other guy had a reason to be out there.
Agreed. So that's the point I was going to make is like...
Leadership is about how much control am I going to give the other people. And Mike Tomlin has given the guys in the locker room, the most talented players, a lot of control.
Too much?
Well, it hasn't worked. So that's when it's too much, when it does not work. When you don't produce championships, that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers are about. They're not about being a good team. So we're getting ready to change their philosophy. Oh, now they're pretty good. No, that has never been their philosophy. They're about winning Super Bowls. That's why they call themselves the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, let's take a break there. Coming up, can Boogie Cousins fit in with the Warriors' winning culture? That's next on First Things First. Tonight, Big Three basketball is live from Miami. Catch it all on FS1 at 8 Eastern or stream it on the Fox Sports app. It's getting so good, so fun to watch. Time now for some stories to start your morning.
You can gamble on the Big Three, too. Learned that yesterday.
Yesterday, Carmelo Anthony was finally traded. His destination, the Hawks, for a hot minute. Then he'll be waived, but will still receive all of his money from Atlanta, in case you were worried about
tragic situation.
Melo's money. It is, right, see?
Life changer.
Melo is expected to join the Houston Rockets. Nick Wright, would signing Melo be a good move for Houston?
Absolutely. There's no risk involved because he's getting his $28 million anyway. He'll sign, I would imagine, for the veterans minimum. So he's going to get actually a slight raise this year as part of being bought out because he'll get $2 million on top of that. Listen, they have a void at power forward. I had said, but when we initially heard of Melo to Houston, that I thought his best role would be coming off the bench. But with Ariza moving on, you actually can slide him in as your starting power forward. And so, yes, I think it'd be a good addition from Houston, assuming Melo understands his role there.
Yeah, that's a key right there. Does Melo understand his role? Because less than 9 months ago, I think someone asked him about, do you want to play power forward? And he was like, no, I don't want to play power forward in OKC. Now he's in Houston, still in the West. They're getting ready to make him play power forward. Also, the reason why I didn't think he was going to go to the Heat was because Pat Riley got that 10% body fat thing. No one on the team got body fat over 10%, Jenna. You'd love playing for the Heat.
I would love to play for Miami.
That's why you end up in Houston with that fried food.
On to the NFL. Thrown onto the bus any chance he gets.
No problem.
According to Adam Schefter, the Atlanta Falcons will not be giving everything wide receiver Julio Jones a contract extension. The 5-time Pro Bowler still has 3 years remaining on his 5-year deal. Over the last 5 seasons, the only player with more receiving yards than Julio, AB, Antonio Brown. CC, are the Falcons making a mistake by not giving Julio Jones a new deal?
Well, it's hard with 3 years left. I mean, you can be a great player, but you got 3 years left on your contract. Now, tell me the contract was a 10-year, but I think it was a 5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, so just 2 years ago, did Julio make a mistake? Did Julio miss the market as far as, hey, man, the market's going to be a lot higher. Maybe I shouldn't sign this 5-year deal.
Or did Julio see what happened to Brandon Cooks?
Brandon Cooks and a bunch of, this the quarterbacks that got Julio. It's not the wide receivers. Like, he knew someone was going to come to. No, I don't believe they're making a mistake. But because 3 years left on your contract, it's hard to set that type of precedent.
Julio, who just retired yesterday? Darrelle Revis? We talked about Darrelle Revis exerted maximum leverage at all points in time. Did not. He signed a contract one time the year before. So actually, I want more money. Julio has, to me, that type of power, that type of ability to have that type of power in Atlanta. I think he should exert maximum leverage here. His guaranteed money is up in that contract. If I'm Julio, I don't think I'm showing up that first day of training camp.
All right.
Don't listen to Nick Wright.
Okay.
Don't listen to him.
Former Alabama offensive coordinator and current Florida Atlantic head coach Lane Kiffin had some interesting comments about Alabama's quarterback situation. Saying that Nick Saban will play both of his quarterbacks in the opener, so neither will leave town. See, what do you make of Lane's interesting comments?
Lane's saying Nick Saban's going to do a little shell game.
Who are they playing in the opener?
I apologize that I do not know. I assume it's a terrible football team. Or a small, very small football team. I apologize that I don't know the
No, that's okay. It's okay.
But what he's saying is he's going to play them both to make them think they'll both get to play so he can keep them both. That's what Lane Kiffin's alleging here.
Oh, Lane knows. Lane's been in the cookie shop making cookies, sizing them up. This one, we need a little more shape on this one. This one needs a little more dough. This one needs some more chips in it. He knows exactly how college football is done. And this is how you get kids confused. You keep playing them. You keep platooning the quarterback. And in a big game you're not going to put Jalen Hurts in there. Jalen should leave this summer. That would be the smart move because Nick Saban is going to try to keep as many blue chippers on that roster as he can.
And by the way, I forgot, Alabama picks its cupcake game for the week before Auburn. They play Louisville week 1, so that's a real football
in one of
team.
those kickoff classics.
Absolutely. My apologies.
They're going to kick Louisville in the...
Okay.
The B-U-T-T.
It'll be a classic.
Yeah, that's right.
We learned our lesson on that earlier this week.
Well, maybe.
3 out of 4 letters, and you're good. Finally, the British Open got underway yesterday. Tiger Woods, in his first Open since 2015, finished even par after round 1, leaving him 5 shots behind the leader. Tiger teed off early this morning. He's even through 6 holes already today, 5 strokes off the lead. See, what do you make of Tiger's start so far?
Oh, he had a solid start. But we're in a day and age in golf that there's so many quality players in the top 100, and there's so many guys that on a given day, they can make 5, 6, 7 birdies. Now, they might have a couple bogeys in there. To me, Tiger Woods, one of the biggest differences that I see in his return is you don't see the birdie barrage like he used to be. Like 2 or 3 times during a round, 3 out of 4 holes, he would make birdie. And he typically didn't make a lot of big numbers, double bogeys. Yesterday, didn't make any double bogeys, but couldn't make the 6 birdies. When he got the 2 under, I told Nick that, man, I wish he could have made 6, 8 pars in a row to be able to stay under par. It's hard in these big tournaments to stay around even par. There's going to be a number around probably 8 under that's going to be leading today. If Tiger doesn't get 3 or 4 under, it's just too much space, too many golfers to go through, too many birdies you have to make without making a mistake.
Yesterday, there was a missed opportunity in those first 6 holes. First 6 holes, he is 2 under. But on the 3rd hole, he putted from the collection area. I couldn't believe he was attempting this, and it was perfect, and it wasn't an inch away from the hole. It was a quarter rotation away. I thought it might drop while he was walking up to tap it in. That would have been a birdie. And then on the 6th hole, after a great drive, he has a bad approach shot, but still despite that, he has a putt for birdie on the par 5 6th that, once again, this one was maybe one full rotation away. He could have been 4 under through 6. And why did it matter? Because you knew he wasn't going to play a totally clean round. You knew some bogeys were going to come. Yes. He had to give himself a bigger margin. So yesterday's round, when he doesn't birdie a single par 5, he gets off to the good start. Yesterday's round should have been a worst case 2 under. Instead of up being even. And now it's to C's point. Today, he starts par, bogey, bogey. Now he follows that up with birdie, birdie. But now you're still just back to even. And so, the number of people is a key point. Because it's not just, okay, I've got to go post a number and maybe the leader falls back. Right. Somebody in that somewhere between you and the leader is going to go out and post a 65. And now he jumps ahead. And so, listen, it's tough. We're not seeing what I guess I had maybe erroneously hoped we would see, which is at least a few of those birdie barrages. Like, we've seen it once in the comeback.
But in the things that impressed me the most, and it's not on the course, and if you heard afterwards, Tiger talked about how he admitted, he's like, you know what? I think I was a couple shots away. I could have led after the first round. Like, I think I could have played well. It's just the side because I covered Tiger for so many years where he gave you nothing, where he was so buttoned up about every single detail
I'd
of his
rather he
game.
go back to being a jerk if it would help him win. I know it wouldn't, but I don't really care.
There's no correlation clearly between what he says and how he's playing, but it's just nice that he's at least being very open and giving people a look into what he's struggling with and what he's going to. You don't like it.
I just know what I'm here for.
It's good insight. He has changed.
Any threat he misses the cut?
I'm going to tell you, it's raining there. The course is totally different than it was yesterday. The course is playing a lot longer. Ball's not rolling out the way it was. You can get in some bad spots, catch some double bogeys, triple bogeys. So right now, he's not on to the back 9 yet. There's still a chance, he could miss the cut.
And the final 4 holes of, at least yesterday, the final 4 holes were a brutal finish for everybody. The first, when I saw the coverage, it was the day wasn't over yet. But holes 1 through 14, the field was 120 over collectively. Right. Holes 15 through 18, those 4 holes, the field was 140 over collectively. So last 4 holes.
One thing to Tiger's advantage, though, Tiger does like the inclement weather. He thinks that less golfers have the mentality to be able to win when it's bad, especially when he's behind. When he's behind, he always prays for bad weather because he feels like he can play spectacular golf either if it's nice or if it's bad.
I like that. All right, moving on to basketball, the Golden State Warriors. Boogie Cousins was introduced as a member of his new team yesterday. Less fanfare, more verbal hardware. Cousins recently referred to joining the back-to-back champs as, quote, his nuclear option and his ace of spades. But Warriors general manager Bob Myers had a different explanation on why he joined Golden State.
He's kind of now at the point, I think, in his life and his career where he's seen the difficult side of playing basketball professionally in some ways. Although he's made a lot of money and done a lot of things, he wants to win. And that's why he's here. We want to win, too. That's the focus.
All right, Nick, let's talk about the way Boogie's going to fit into this Warriors team. What is a realistic role for him on this team?
Oh, I mean, I think a realistic role is, at the very least, in the stretches where KD and Steph are both off the court, you can play him and Clay in a 2-man game where you still have 2 dominant offensive players and the offense can run through Boogie. I think he will get 10 minutes a game where the offense runs through him. Now, that'll be different than what he's used to, which is he's used to almost all the minutes he's on the court, the offense running through him, even when he was playing with Anthony Davis, because Anthony Davis isn't a guy that, like, you run post-ups for necessarily. He kind of gets his scoring off other people's action. So I think he'll still get that to a degree. I also think Boogie will be a guy who, if a team tries to go small against the Warriors like Houston did in the playoffs, that if they don't want to put out their small ball lineup at that point in time. If they want to rest Iguodala's legs, if they don't want to ask Draymond to play center, you can put Boogie out there and basically force the other team out of their small ball lineup. I just think there were very few spots Golden State was vulnerable last season. The minutes Steph and Clay were off the court, the minutes the other team could out small ball your small ball. And Boogie fits in perfectly to fix those few weaknesses they had. So once he's healthy, which I think will be sooner than a lot of people think, I don't think that he'll have any problem fitting into that role as long as he knows that's the role.
Yeah, most professional teams, they want an opportunity at some point that I can be bigger, stronger, and more powerful than you. The Warriors, they don't have that. Even the death lineup, that lineup presents problems for people. But power, strength, if they can go to a post game, they will have a certain number of sets where they will go and feed the post. Also, let's not forget who Boogie Cousins is. You're talking about pick and roll, but the pick and pop. All right? He's going to have so many opportunities to pick and pop and shoot that open jump shot, which is part of his game. Also, if you go back and watch the Warriors game, especially during the regular season, they have at least 20 possessions. They're wasted. Like the first guy up the court, the first shot they get, they take it. And to me, it's part of their plan. But in real basketball, you could give that possession to anyone. So for me, there's so many possessions that they could take those out and just give those to Boogie. Just run plays for Boogie, because this is what the Warriors are going to do. They're not going to have Boogie, hey, Boogie, just go out there and fit in. No, right. Boogie is not that type of player. You have to call his number. You have to throw him the ball. You have to have him involved. You have to massage his ego. So all those things have to come into play. I see him playing 20 to 28 minutes for Golden State as a starter. I'm not thinking about them times that Steph is not on the court and KD's not on the court. Boogie is going to want a significant role with this team, and it starts from being in the starting lineup. When they say when they call him out there, Boogie wants to be a part of that. So if that doesn't happen, that's going to be a problem. So I believe they have to massage his ego more than any of the other players they've ever had.
And Kerr, by the way, has said he will start. He said no disrespect Kayvon Looney, but once Boogie's healthy, he'll start. Go ahead, Jim.
Piggybacking off what you just said, so that's how he fits into the basketball aspect of it. How does he fit into their culture on this Golden State team, the winning culture that everyone on this team, top to bottom, already knows and has adopted?
Listen, he's got to. They don't have to change anything culture-wise for him. You're mentioning offensively things they can do to make him feel welcome, to get him involved. They got to change. They will change some things there, even though he fits in well. He's a great passer as a center. He's a good three-point shooter as a center, as CC mentioned. But he's got to buy into that. That is the only question I have. That's the only reason I believe that anyone could say this won't be a good move, is if they think Boogie simply doesn't have it in him. I think his time in Sacramento, that was such a dysfunctional organization. He was a part of it, but he wasn't the only part of the reason it was dysfunctional. He never had, forget an all-star teammate, he never had a top 100 player in the league teammate when he was in Sacramento. And then in New Orleans, we didn't hear a ton about New Orleans saying he was a problem. He might not have been a solution, but we didn't hear people complaining about Boogie once he was in New Orleans.
But it's hard to be a great player and the team play better when you're absent. All right? It's hard to have a guy who can get 25 and 10, and the team actually got better when he was on the bench. The thing about Boogie Cousins is when you throw Boogie the ball, Boogie looks at who's on him, and Boogie's like, man, I could boogie on this dude. So that's not going to change. Why would I pass the ball when I can, hey, coach, I can score on this guy? In Golden State, inside their offense, they have complete liberty. If they want to, they can take the guy off the bounce. They can take any shot that they want. Now, are they going to extend that to Boogie? Because that's what Boogie's had every other place he's been.
But don't you think, as a center, he's a really good passer? Averaged 5.5 assists a game last year. He was doing that with worse teammates.
Yeah, but you don't get a max deal for your assist.
For sure, but don't you? I guess I believe Boogie knows. I would think he knows that the max deal isn't going to be based on his numbers this year. That everyone knows the numbers are going to be. I wouldn't,
Nick. You give a lot of credit to guys for stuff they should know. Well, if he should know, because I typically say it, people know better, they do better. Well, Boogie hasn't really taken that.
So he shouldn't have gone to Golden State if his numbers were. as big a priority?
I mean, we're just assuming that all of a sudden he's just going to be totally bought into, hey, me scoring the basketball, me not getting in double figures, like that's not going to matter. It is going to matter because he's looking for a max deal. He's not trying to win. He's trying to get a max deal. Golden State's going to win with him or without him.
I thought Boogie was, I'd be more concerned. I'm not acting like I'm not concerned at all. I'd be more concerned if I didn't think Boogie, as his teams have gotten better, his behavior has gotten better. If he was the same malcontent in New Orleans as he was in Sacramento, I would be more concerned. This is the most winning he will have done anywhere in his career.
How has he done in his press releases, statements since?
He's very stable.
Now he's on the best team that's ever created. So you said he got better as the team got better. Well, what happened in the transition?
Let him be around.
The documentary with Showtime, like he's being a jerk like to the camera, but I don't know that means that's who he's going to be on the court or with his teammates. I'm not saying it's not, but I just don't think you can draw that conclusion. I don't think it's fair to.
Oh no, I can draw the conclusion. How Boogie has been since he was at Kentucky.
Absolutely.
Because I know the coaches.
No doubt. But
okay.
I'm saying.
And also how he's been as a pro, because I know some of the people that have worked with him.
I don't mind any of that.
Boogie has serious issues.
Agreed. The only thing, the thing that I'm saying you can't draw the conclusion from is the Showtime documentary. If you want to talk about his college and pro career, that's totally fair. I think guys put on for the camera at times. I don't really care about what a guy says in the Showtime documentary. But his track record, it's all fair game. That's why, listen, I told you that an NBA front office guy hit me up and said, I think this is terrible for the Warriors. I think it's the only mistake they could have made. They didn't need him, and coaches don't like him. He's bad in the locker room, all these things. I'm a believer in the talent.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, will tension between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady spill over onto the field? Who used to be a quarterback for the Patriots?
Hey, man, Jimmy G. Bill Belichick said, man, that Jimmy G is interesting now.
What about that?
You know?
See, that's an example of you putting it up at the rim and C dunking it.
Zip. No, zip it.
No, say it.
Back here in First Things First, the Patriots kick off training camp on Thursday. Gosh, Thursday already. Among the many questions reporters will be asking, how is Gronk's horse doing? And where's the state of affairs with Brady, Belichick, and Kraft? The three hoping to put the issues from last season behind them. According to reports, nothing has been hashed out, making for a very meaty training camp. CC, would issues between Belichick and Brady have any impact whatsoever on the field?
I don't think so. Belichick, when you run the type of program he runs, him and Nick Saban, there are going to always be issues. Because human beings don't live and function the way these two people do. I mean, they're so consistent in their approach, you would think that they've never won anything. And there's always going to be some type of friction when you run programs. Bill Parcells had the same thing. This is the way they run things. This is how they develop football players, and this is how they're going to run their team. And this is who knows this. It's not important that I know it, but Tom Brady knows that. Tom Brady's success is all tied to Bill Belichick. Now, of course, there's no way that Tom Brady would agree with everything he's done. But he believes in Belichick. He believes in the moves that he make for the overall good. Now, does he sign off on them? No, because Belichick don't ask him to sign off on them. You think he was happy when he lost Randy Moss? No, he was not happy. You think he was happy when he lost Wes Welker? No, he wasn't happy. So there have been other times.
Even Amendola
in this relationship. Yeah, he's nothing compared to what Brady's already lost.
Of course, but I just mean even recently, up to this year.
Like I said, Amendola was nothing. I'm going to call Tom Brady. Danny Amendola, he's not going to be able to come back with the team. I'm going to see if Tom or Giselle, if they care. All right? Bill don't care nothing about that. You can't run a football team that way. And you can't have the type of respect or warrant the type of respect that Bill Belichick, that he demands from you and be wishy-washy. He's very consistent. He's been consistent since he's been a coach. Now, he's made adjustments since the first time as a head coach in Cleveland to what he's doing now, but he's not going to make concessions and adjustments.
As far as the cultural aspect or the game plans, or what kind of adjustments?
He's made a lot of adjustments. He's changed his football. He doesn't always play a 34 defense now. That was his staple defense. He will play a 43 now. He will play nickel now. He'll play a goal line front with 5 DBs in the back. Like, he has adjusted. Throwing the football from an offensive standpoint, he don't mind coming out throwing the ball 50 times in one game, even if it's raining or something. So he's adjusted his overall philosophy, but how he's going to do things day to day, Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, and this is not why they win. It's just one of the ingredients in making the cake.
How many players do you think Belichick's been in constant contact with this offseason?
Oh, 0.
How many players do you think he has had more than 2 phone calls with this offseason that are currently on the team?
Tom Brady would probably be the only one.
And if it's more than 2, it's less than 10.
No, it's either 1 or 2 players. He might have talked to Trump.
I meant total phone calls with Brady. I'm saying if it's more than 2 phone, like, it's not like they're talking once a week. It's not it's not how
in the offseason, they're not talking like that. During the season, the communication is a lot more extensive.
Of course. The point I'm making is whatever issues they had when the Super Bowl ended, those issues are probably going to exist when training camp opens, because there haven't been a lot of like, hey, we're all getting together at the Cape for families and barbecues. Like, it's just, as Cece mentioned, that's not how most football coaches do things, but it is certainly not how this football coach does things. And it is what I would call a symbiotic relationship that probably neither party is all in on as far as loving it. Like, Brady understands how much Belichick helps him. And Belichick, whether he admit it or not, understands how much Brady has helped him and how much Brady has helped elevate him to the discussion we've had amongst the greatest coaches of all time. But, of course, they get on each other's nerves. And, of course, Belichick doesn't, I would imagine, now I'm obviously not reporting this, like, Belichick probably doesn't love that Brady has, via his celebrity and his play, almost superseded the hierarchy that Belichick has established, that Brady has a direct line of communication with the owner, that he's an adopted son of the owner, and Brady, I'm sure, doesn't love that Belichick still treats him like he's one of the players, when he has done so much and he's the best quarterback in the league, or one of them, and maybe the best quarterback of all time. But that's who they are, and it's never affected them on the field. It's never been an issue as far as their ability to win football games.
So that's just it. Earlier in the show, we talked about squinting to see something. If you take a step back and gloss over it, that relationship has actually worked for them. I think that, sure, they would like a better relationship, maybe, but the truth is, like,
I don't think Belichick would want a better relationship. It's exactly where he wants it.
So it hasn't affected any play on the field. It is what it is. And Brady may want something different, or maybe he doesn't. Who knows? But it's working, so they're not going to go ahead now all of a sudden say, you know what, it's time that we do start vacationing on the Cape or getting together and having these one-on-one intimate chats about God knows what. This has worked. This dynamic in the relationship has worked for these two, and it's meant winning.
They were 1 or 2 plays away from winning their 6th Super Bowl. If they make 1 or 2 plays, do we still have this same question? No, and it's still the same tension in the room. This was Bill Belichick. He's going to run his program how he wants. And I don't agree with you as far as who Tom Brady is as a celebrity and all those things. I don't think those things affect Bill Belichick one bit. And the reason why was because a number of years ago, Robert Kraft made a great decision. And it wasn't of drafting Tom Brady, because he wasn't part of that decision. That was the decision when he decided to trade those draft picks for Bill Belichick, because that changed his life. Now, subsequently, Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round by Bill Belichick. But let's not forget about the original draft picks, that how this thing got started. Robert Kraft believed in that man, that he would trade draft picks as a coach to get him to leave the New York Jets to join the New England Patriots. And that's the most significant thing. So as far as Brady and his communication with Kraft, it doesn't affect Belichick, because he knows that there's one hammer. Until Robert Kraft tells Bill Belichick, you don't have control of this roster, Bill Belichick's going to continue to coach. And you're going to know when things change in New England, because there's going to be a press conference and Bill Belichick's not going to be the coach.
All right, let's take a break. Leave it there. Coming up, are the Rockets making a mistake pursuing Carmelo Anthony? That's next. This is First Things First.
I do know why Jimmy G ain't in New England no more. Jimmy G said, I'm a star. Well, you know, at least I can date one.
Back to here. First things first, we're joined by Yahoo Sports senior writer Chris Mannix. Happy Friday.
What up,
Chris
man?
Mannix.
Good to see you, brother.
All good?
All good.
Let's talk some Melo. Carmelo Anthony is one step closer to being a member of a team where he will want more playing time. That would be the Houston Rockets. The Thunder have agreed to a 3-team trade that will send Melo to the Hawks. Melo will then be waived and become a free agent, and all signs point to him landing with Houston. Chris Mannix, would signing Melo be a good move for the Rockets?
It feels like a bit of a desperation move for the Rockets because the Rockets lost some of their core guys in the last few weeks. They lost Luke Mbah a Moute. They lost Trevor Ariza. These guys were part of their defensive identity. That's what made the Rockets a special team last year. They were a great offensive team with great offensive players, but the reason they went as deep as they did in the playoffs was because of that defensive identity. Carmelo, to me, just feels like the guy on the market, like the last guy with talent that they could potentially bring in on a short-term type of deal. So I'm fine with it. I don't think it significantly improves them. In fact, I would certainly argue that right now, even with Carmelo, the Rockets are a weaker team going into next season.
I agree they're a weaker team going into next season. I think we might look back on this Rockets run and say, you know what their window was? Right up until Chris Paul pulled his hamstring.
Yep.
That 1 year and the one season, they had home court. Yeah. Golden State was kind of in cruise control throughout the year and didn't seem to really lock in, even in Game 6 and 7 of that series where they were down double digits in both those. And I think when Chris Paul's a year older, he's now the part of his career, he's probably getting 8 to 10% worse each year. But I don't think adding Carmelo hurts them. I actually think it is, if used properly, a good addition for them. I think everyone is over-exaggerating the loss of Mbah a Moute.
Okay, but define for me if used properly. What does that mean?
I think Carmelo Anthony, if you want to run the offense for him at the end of first and third quarters, run the offense through him, I think Carmelo Anthony as a floor spacer, because he's still one of the best catch-and-shoot three-point shooters in the league, I think those things work. Similarly to how they have used Ryan Anderson throughout the regular season the past few years. Now, does Carmelo Anthony move the needle in the postseason? I mean, he did for the Thunder last year in a hugely negative way. He was terrible in their brief playoff run. We'll see what he is by the time the Rockets get to the playoffs this year. But, I mean, the guy that the big loss for them is Ariza. And Phoenix overpaid for Ariza. He's not worth $15 million a year to the Rockets. They let him go. But Trevor Ariza also was 0 for 12 in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. But
you can't take away. This is what I don't like about the NBA. However a guy performs in the playoffs or like at that little final stage, like we make that the resume for the season. But the reason why that they were a better team was because of Ariza. You know, the Cameron Prince, the totality of them, the minutes that they played. The reason why they went from the bottom half of the NBA in defense was because of these guys, right?
I would actually disagree with that. I think they were important pieces, but I would say the reason they made the defensive jump were these three things more than that. The evolution of Clint Capella, the addition of P.J. Tucker, and the addition of Chris Paul. I think those were their three biggest defensive pieces.
Well, what about the 30 games that Chris Paul missed?
Sure,
so you don't. No. This is the thing. Chris Paul missed 30 games. You don't go from the bottom 6 team in defense to a top 10 team without all those other minutes. So we can't exclude that part. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And
he missed 30 games. If he had played 80 games, I would be like, yeah, Chris Paul was the reason. P.J. Tucker, yes, but it's all those pieces. Melo doesn't fit. Melo. He's just not my favorite player. So I have to be careful in trying to criticize the move. There's no way that Houston as a basketball team think they're better today than they were.
Well, what do they get out of Carmelo Anthony? How does he contribute to the team? How do they get better with him on it?
I don't know how they get better. I don't think they get demonstrably better. Look, this is... And I wrote about this last night. This is kind of a seminal moment for Carmelo Anthony. Maybe not this season, but at the end of the season, the next couple of years. You talk about used properly. The most proper way to use a 34-year-old Carmelo Anthony right now is as a sixth man. Bring him off the bench, let him cook some of those second-unit type defenders, and get him off the floor in the fourth quarter, which he will be once again. You are not going to see Carmelo Anthony on the floor in the fourth quarter of big games in Houston, just like you didn't see him on the floor in the fourth quarter in big games in Oklahoma City. You saw Jeremy Grant playing a lot of fourth quarter minutes for the Thunder last season. If used in that way, he can be effective. But if you're talking about sticking him out there as the power forward in the fourth quarter of games with Chris Paul and with James Harden, how do you stop teams in that regard? He is still a below-average defender, and this doesn't even take into account the entirely separate conversation of the hilariousness of he and Mike D'Antoni reuniting. He was the reason that Mike D'Antoni quit New York. Not a reason, the reason that he quit New York. Those two together, it boggles my mind.
Okay, but Mike D'Antoni is signing off on this.
Yes, and Mike D'Antoni's a different coach right now.
Well, what else is available?
Well, listen, I don't think the Rockets are not in a position where they feel like if we don't add Melo, we're screwed. They are doing it because they think it's an added benefit. And when you're saying he can't be on the court in the fourth quarter, listen, Gerald Green was playing fourth quarter minutes for this team. Like, you don't think there is, unless they want to go super small and have CP3, Harden, and Gordon out there, there is a lineup that exists that's CP3, Harden, Melo, PJ Tucker, and Capella. That will be the starting lineup. That will be some games' finishing lineup. Now, if you want to go smaller and sub Eric Gordon out, but Gordon's not a great defender. We also have to recognize that how does this team match up against Golden State? Not great. How does any team match up against Golden State? Not great. There's 28 other teams in the league. They got to get back to the Western Conference Finals first. Like, you don't have to have 5+ defenders on the court at all times against any team except Golden State, right? Like,
but isn't that just the bar? Like, that's the bar. Like, you know, they're a 65-win team that went to the conference finals last year. Forget everybody else. Like, that's who you need to be building a team to compete against. And you're not going to convince me that Carmelo Anthony on this team makes them even close to as competitive against Golden State as they were last year.
Yeah, I don't think they're definitely, if they were one step away from Golden State, they're definitely several steps. You know, I believe that a couple teams in the East have the potential to be as good as Houston. Like, I don't believe Houston believes that they're as good as they were or have the same potential. Like, last year, they thought their ceiling was world championship. It would be hard for me to believe that everyone in their building believes that now.
Okay, well, I mean, if they don't believe that, they're lying.
They believe. Like, in the building, like, in the building.
But maybe they're kidding themselves.
No problem.
Of course. It's just, you know, I wish... You know, Carmelo Anthony at that exit interview last year with Oklahoma City, when he kind of dismissed the idea of being a sixth man, that was frustrating to me because I think he can be an incredibly effective sixth man on a winning team, a championship team for the next 3 years.
That's what I was going to. Is this going to be a whatever it takes with Carmelo Anthony? Is he willing to do whatever it takes to convince people last year maybe was an outlier year and that, yes, he's on the decline, but it was not nearly as bad as what happened in the playoffs?
I don't see him having that attitude. It's really hard, and you could speak to this as a player, but it's really hard, I've found, from NBA players to go from being superstars to role players. For their entire professional careers or their entire lives, they've been the best players on the court when they've been out there. To transition to a reserve role, you don't see a lot of guys do it. It's what drove Allen Iverson out of the league, quite frankly.
Real quick, I think the Melo, I agree with you that ideally he would be a sixth man. The reason I'm putting him in the starting lineup is just because you're not going to start Ryan Anderson. I don't think you're going to start Gerald Green. Like, the Rockets have really good guard depth.
All their choices are bad.
Ryan Anderson might be a better fit for what they do. He's a better three-point shooter.
They both space the floor about equally.
You think Carmelo Anthony's going to be happy just kind of standing in the corner, spacing the floor?
Again,
Nick thinks this is a galvanizing moment. He thinks this is a moment of humility.
I do. I think that.
But we have no signs to be able to verify that. But he just thinks...
If you're right, it could work better than I think.
When you say we have no signs of being able to verify that, of course, because the season hasn't started yet, see? But what we do know is for some guys...
Who?
What do you mean? We've never heard of a professional athlete getting cut from a team and having that all of a sudden change their outlook?
A buyout. He's not getting cut, Nick. He's not getting cut.
Because you can't cut guys.
They told him to go home, and I'm going to give you a check.
See, you can't cut guys in the NBA. A buyout is getting cut. That when he has a moment where...
I know what getting cut is.
Right, of course.
I know what really getting cut is.
Of course. And what you went through is obviously different. That's not what I'm comparing it to. But we have seen guys... When I say it's a galvanizing moment...
Yeah, just tell me the guys that did. Make a list of the guys that you have seen. Okay, this guy got bought out of his contract, and this was a galvanizing moment for him. All right? I'm not giving credit to Melo for something that I can't identify. Who did that? You tell me a great guy made a bunch of money, and then at that moment he said, you know something? I'm getting ready to buy into this concept of being a backup because that moment right there humbled me. I don't see that, and I don't see Melo doing that.
Okay. All right.
Chris Mannix, stick around. It's only going to get better. I promise you that.
We're talking Boston? Great.
Coming up is Deshaun Watson, ready to pick up right where he left off. CC, we're going to talk about NFL quarterbacks. Coming back. Tomorrow, baseball's biggest stars are on Fox. For most of the country, it's the Cubbies taking on the Cardinals. And for others, the Angels and Astros. Tomorrow, 7 Eastern on Fox. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Moving on, Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson could not be more excited to get back to training camp. He had to miss most of last season with a torn ACL. As a rookie, Deshaun Watson tossed 19 touchdowns, an NFL record in a quarterback's first 7 games. The Texans also averaged 40.5 points per game with Watson as a starter. Chris, how hard will it be, though, for Watson to pick up where he left off?
I think that the expectations, I'm glad you asked the question, asked it that way, even though he's going to be full go. He's going to be a guy that I'm going to watch very close. Him, we made some jokes about Jimmy Garoppolo and a couple other quarterbacks because we have kind of given them a Hall of Fame career off of 5 to 7 games. And I've seen this happen in the NFL, that people have success in a half of a season, and then they come back, and the league does have a book on them, and the adjustment that the league makes to them, that the player takes longer to adjust, and the personnel around him takes longer to adjust. So Deshaun Watson, tremendous talent. Amazing what he did last season. They didn't even know he was going to do that. I wouldn't be shocked at all to see him come back to the field, start making some mistakes with the football, and see his interception ratio go up, touchdown to interception ratio go up, and also to see his completion percentage maybe to go down. So for him to struggle in his second season, I wouldn't be surprised. It's not like I'm hoping for it, but when you go into NFL season, you got to be careful. To be careful of all the players that they think this is going to be their breakout year. Be ever so careful. There hadn't been enough film. He hadn't played enough to know that he is a bona fide superstar long-term in this league.
And when we say it's the 6 starts, yeah, that sounds small, but it's really the last 4 starts, and that's even smarter. Those last 4 starts, the guy accounted for 17 touchdowns, had a quarterback rating of 120, around 120. I mean, he was spectacular on a team with no offensive line whatsoever, and a team that had to score a whole bunch of points because their defense was ravaged by injuries. So listen, is he going to be a guy who quarterbacks a team to 35 points per game like they did last year? No. But here's why I am not as worried about his regression as I am other guys, and maybe it's confirmation bias. This is the guy I saw at Clemson. This is the guy that I saw for 2 years in college football be the best player in college football. Go up against the best team in college football in back-to-back years in the national championship game and be the best player on the field. He's the guy who, going into his draft, I did not understand why there wasn't more discussion that he should be the #1 overall pick. So when that player, that's at least who I thought he was going to be in my mind's eye, and then I see him take the field, and I'm like, well,
it worked.
That is exactly who I thought he would be. So listen.
And then I'll ask you the question, who was the last player you saw in college football that was dominant, that came into the NFL, and he was able to duplicate that dominance?
Immediately, nobody. I mean, Cam was the guy that I would pull on.
Who could do it immediately and who could sustain it, like we've seen the great quarterbacks or the great players do.
And would you call Russell?
It's a small list.
It's a very small list.
That's why I don't go off of college football, because the systems that they run are totally different. And the reason why, there's 2 reasons why he was there were some question marks about his overall throwing ability. Number one, will that system work in the pros? That was the #1 thing. College guys who have been successful running the type of system they run at Clemson have not been successful. So that was warranted. The other one was his inability to be accurate on his deep ball in college. That's not something people made up. Like, he was not that good on it. So people drew the conclusion, is he going to be able to avoid people and stay injury-free? Well, he got hurt the first year, so that's a real thing. He's had 2 serious knee injuries. As a young player, that will be an issue regardless of the rest of his career.
And I would say, if we want to go best case, worst case, and I'm not pulling these two quarterbacks because they also happen to be black quarterbacks, but best case is Russell Wilson, right? Who was, I don't know if you'd call him dominant in college, but he was very, very good at both his stops.
No, he was not dominant.
But he was very good at NC State and Wisconsin. Came into the league, was immediately good, and has sustained that level. The flip side is Robert Griffin, who was dominant in college, who his rookie year in Washington, with a bit of a gimmicky system, looked to be dominant as a pro, suffered a serious injury, and never got anywhere close to that level of play. Like, so you can pull examples of either one of them. You mentioned the deep ball concern. I thought that was one of the revelations about last year, because in the preseason he couldn't even throw the deep ball.
The thing is, can he duplicate that? Can he duplicate the consistency that he's never had? So I can't bake it in off of those 4 or 5 games. I can't do that. I've seen enough football and I've seen enough guys go the other way that I don't have it in me to be able to make that jump without seeing it.
What did you see in the 6 games he started, the 7 that he played last year, that would lead you to believe he could be a success? There was something in him that is going to let him shine in some capacity in this league.
I saw him with mediocre personnel, especially from a running back standpoint and offensive line standpoint. When the offensive line broke down, when the plays, Jenna, were off schedule, he was magnificent. And utilizing the wide receivers for their skill level. Will Fuller, what does he do? Man, he's a burner. Man, he took advantage of that. Nuke, this is the first time Nuke had a real quarterback, and Nuke was phenomenal in playing with him. So those were the things. Plays off schedule, he was amazing. And this is the first time that Bill O'Brien, as an offensive coordinator and play caller, looked halfway decent.
Right. That's the other part of this is the head coach, who was known as, he was Brady's quarterback's coach. He was the offensive coordinator there. He goes to Penn State. He makes Christian Hackenberg look like a pro. He made Matt McGloin into a pro. And then he gets to Houston, and we joked about this when the show first started. Remember, it was Hoyer, Mallett, Yates, Whedon, Daniels, Fitzpatrick, Keenum, Schaub. He finally had a guy he could be creative with the play calling from a quarterback position, rather than a guy he had to just coach up to an adequate level. And you all of a sudden saw, oh, that's why Bill O'Brien was the hot prospect coming out of Penn State to go to the pros. See how they build on that this year as well.
The pressure shouldn't be on Deshaun Watson in his second year. The pressure should be on another person in Houston. It should be on J.J. Watt in that defense. Because if that defense returns to being a top-5 defense, it makes Deshaun Watson's job a lot easier. So we're sitting around here talking about a young quarterback, what he can do. Hey, Mr. Defensive MVP, we need him to show back up. I know he's a Hall of Famer, but we ain't giving him his jacket yet. We need to see J.J. Watt and see him healthy and see him playing at a high level. All
right, let's take a break. Coming up, why aren't the Falcons giving their biggest weapon a new deal? That's next. This is First Things First. Welcome back to First Things First. We're going viral. Yesterday, Boogie Cousins was officially introduced as a Warrior, and he had some interesting comments about his new teammates. Take a listen.
Just to put this out there, my favorite by far is Clay. Our short time together, in the summers, for him to be as dull as he is, it's never a dull moment.
We were going through the whole process, and we said, should we talk to Clay? And Steve said, he's fine. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. It's true. We were all kind of laughing. We probably should tell Clay about this.
I still haven't talked to him.
Still haven't talked.
DeMarcus, there's a perception out there that you, Draymond, and Kevin Durant at some point are going to fight. Is this going to happen now because your team just won have it all out brawl? I know you guys are friends, but that's what people think because they see you on the court. Do you just get it in one time to get it out the way?
Might as well.
What do you think?
All right, that last part, can we not focus on the last part for a moment and focus more on the Clay part for a second?
Oh, yeah.
Because what they said about Clay is totally accurate. He's the most likable, one of the most likable guys in the league. He's just, he's a metronome, man. He just...
Okay, what is that?
It's just always consistent. Like, it's just you're going to get the
What's
same
it called
results.
again?
A metronome.
You know, those little...
No, I don't know. But
it's like some people use them to help them fall asleep. They just go back and forth, the same no matter what. Like, you can set your watch to it.
I'm getting you a metronome.
Clay is just as chill as can be.
I go to sleep easy.
Let's use for other things, too.
Similar to Clay Thompson.
Yeah.
I love Clay.
Yeah, you do.
Everybody does. And it's so funny. They're like, we got to make sure Katie's all right with it. What about Dre and Steph? Clay's in China. You don't care.
One of the things I think we'll miss from this is, do you know what a luxury it is to have a superstar? You don't have to call. What about we're signing the most controversial player should we call? Clay don't care, and the coach knew, the owners know, like that's really cool.
And Boogie was like, he probably still doesn't know. He'll hear it eventually.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll show up.
Clay's off in China living his best life right now.
How many shots Clay gonna get?
Well, same as always. About 18.4 a game. Like, go ahead and go get him, Clay. He's great, man.
Yeah, I'm with Clay. I like that.
All right, time now for some stories to start your morning. Let's get it going. The British Open got underway yesterday. Tiger Woods, in his first Open since 2015, finished even par. Excuse me, after round one. Today, Tiger's 1 over par through the front 9, 6 strokes back of the leader. CeCe, what did you make of Tiger's start?
Tiger should have been at least 2 or 3 under. And I was concerned when he came back to even par. The front 9, he had a clean scorecard, 2 birdies there, no bogeys. So to make the turn at 2 under, knowing that the leader was 5 under, I don't like the fact. The old Tiger, he could come back. This new Tiger, he doesn't have that birdie barrage a couple times in a round where he's going to birdie 3 or 4 holes. So I don't like that fact is there, and there's too many good golfers. I wouldn't be surprised if he finished day 2 over par, and missing the cut is in jeopardy. Since he's only 1 over through with only 9 holes left before they get to the cut, I don't think he'll miss the cut. I do understand the final 4 holes of Carnoustie are very difficult, and they played very difficultly yesterday. But once again, we're going to go to the weekend of a major where Tiger's not going to be in contention, and that's just a bummer. Just makes me sad. Once again, I picked the wrong winner.
Consistently.
I mean, I've picked Tiger Woods every major since 03. I've gotten like 9 right.
On to the NBA, where yesterday Carmelo Anthony was finally traded. His destination, the Hawks, where he will be waived, but will still receive all of his money from Atlanta. Melo expected to eventually join the Houston Rockets. Nick, would signing Melo be a good move for Houston?
I believe it would be. I believe it fills a bit of a void for them. And I think Carmelo, and this is a big point of contention, I think Carmelo somewhat humbled by what happened in OKC. You asked me earlier to give you an example, an NBA superstar that was bought out and then accepted a lesser role. How about one of Melo's good friends, Dwayne Wade, last year? Dwayne Wade gets bought out by Chicago, goes to Cleveland, accepts a bench role, and then goes to Miami.
I saw Dwayne Wade take a backup role when LeBron came there. LeBron, like, he is a champion. Like, Dwayne Wade is a champion. Him and Carmelo do not have the same athletic character. So, not Dwayne Wade, yeah, he did do that. But you know who it was for? It was for LeBron James, and it wasn't the first time that he had done that.
Okay, sure, because last year it wasn't for LeBron James in Miami, and he accepted anyway. But I do understand the point that they have different career trajectories. Do you like the move for Houston?
They're going to get a stomach ache because every time I love ice cream, but every time I eat Melo, I get bubble guts. So I'm just going to tell you, Daryl Morey, your stomach's going to start bubbling about January. And it's not because the All-Star break is approaching.
All right, yesterday, the Miami Dolphins submitted paperwork to the NFL that included potential disciplinary measures for player protests during the national anthem. This prompted a lot of backlash, which led to the NFL and the Players Association issuing a joint statement saying, quote, no new rules relating to the anthem will be issued or enforced for the next several weeks, while both sides continue to hold discussions to figure out how to move forward. Nick, what do you make of this latest development?
Listen, this is not going to go away, and I think if the NFL had a time machine, they would handle a lot of these things differently. Just the timeline on this is, this whole thing had died down after the 2016 season, and then President Trump called NFL players SOBs, and Mike Pence, Vice President Pence, pardon me, flies to a Colts game only so he can then walk out of the Colts game. I mean, that was the plan all along when he saw some players protesting. And so then it fires all the way back up, and we had talked about it at the beginning of last year. And then it dies all the way down to the point to where during the NFL playoffs, not a single player protested in any form during the national anthem, during the playoffs, or the Super Bowl. And it seemingly has died down again. And then, in my eyes, in an attempt to appease President Trump on this issue, the NFL releases an anthem policy that tries to have it both ways, so instead they have it no ways. And they opened it up to the teams. And so now the Miami Dolphins say you could be fined, but you could be suspended up to 4 games. And the optics of that are, well, terrible. When we just saw Jameis Winston suspended 3 games for admitting, it would appear, to sexual assault. And so the NFL is, maybe rightfully, very afraid of President Trump tweeting and talking about this issue. President Trump's going to tweet and talk about this issue. There is no way to win on this issue if politicians believe it is a winning issue in election season. And so I don't know the correct resolution. I know I'm not supposed to say that on television, but I don't know the correct resolution to this. I do know that the NFL's halfway in, halfway out attempts have not done it, and they're not going to appease the people who at least claim to be most angry about this issue.
Yeah, there is no answer just sitting out there for someone to go to. But this is what happens when you have 32 predominantly white owners go into a room and they decide to make up a rule without talking to the Players Association. So I doubt that the owners thought about the players when they made up this new rule. That's the reason why they immediately had to come out, the NFLPA and the NFL, and say, all right, we got to stop right now, because they made a mistake in even trying to implement this rule. Because if you have a rule like they tried to implement, you know that there are some owners that their politics match up with the politics that are currently in the White House. So you knew there was going to be people that were going to fine players or potentially suspending players. I'm glad that you mentioned the Jameis Winston thing, because it's shocking to think that you can have a peaceful protest and be suspended for more time than a guy who assaults a woman in public. Like, that, to me, the NFL's in a bad spot. The owners, I know what their politics are. And every time we let them, they show us. So they showed us what their hand was. There is no easy solution for this.
And the owners also, in a way, at times can't get out of their own way. Because by the way, I don't think all the owners that support this policy are necessarily President Trump supporters. I just think some of them probably vote Democrat. But they're fearful of the power of a President Trump tweet. They're fearful of the power of their viewers or their ticket buyers who do agree with the president on this going away from them. But the owners, tough time convincing me that you can tell the players, well, work is not a place for your politics. And then the Arizona Cardinals owner uses the team website and the team PR department to endorse the potential upcoming Supreme Court Justice in Brett Kavanaugh. Like, that is, Michael Bidwell did not, it's not like he just went to a rally. Like the former coach of the Rockets, Kevin McHale, went to a rally recently. People gave him a hard time. The man's in his own time, in his private capacity. He can go whatever rally he wants to. He did this on the team website, team letterhead, talking about endorsing the, you got to be careful here.
Let's just stay right there. Bidwell also, he suspended Steve Keim, the general manager, for DUI that he had. He suspended him for 5 games. So now you're telling me what Steve Keim did and all the lives that he put in jeopardy by driving at night is the same thing as basically as a peaceful protest. Because that's what they're going to be. They're going to be in the same, and there is no solution for them.
And I just listen, for the audience, I know there are members of the audience that do not like what the players are protesting or how they're protesting. I get that. I would just please try to remind you that the players are not the ones that are keeping this in the public eye. This was gone and done twice. There are 1,600 players in the league. There's a couple guys still doing it, none during the playoffs. People are trying to divide us among things as down to our sports. And it's because there's an election coming up in November, and the pollsters have said this is a winning issue. Do not let them divide us on this.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the owners Their politics might be Republican, it might be Democratic, but I think that I would be wrong in not mentioning Eric Reid don't have a team he's playing with. He's not signed with anyone. He took a knee in San Francisco. He is a quality safety, starting safety in this league. Colin Kaepernick still didn't play last year. All right, still not signed. Hadn't even gotten a workout. So to think that the owners and their politics don't necessarily match up with what's going on, that I think that we would be missing it. Eric Reid does not have a job because he participated in the protest. Colin Kaepernick does not have a job. He should be starting for an NFL team today. Does not have a job because of a peaceful protest.
And the Reid thing is important because all the potential Kaepernick excuses fall by the wayside when it comes to Eric Reid. Oh, well, he's not the right system for my backup quarterback. Oh, we don't want the backup quarterback to have all these distractions. Nobody's showing up to ask about Eric Reid. You don't need some special system for this safety. He's not going to cost a ton of money. All the nonsense that we were told, this is why Cap's not in the league as opposed to the protest, falls by the wayside with Eric Reid. Yet he still don't have no damn job. And it's getting late pretty early as far as
I believe that this and a number of things will help their collusion case against the NFL. Because it's been clear. They didn't call each other, but it's definitely out there on the street. We will not sign one of these players. Only one of them came in for one workout. Like, each one of them has one. Oh, like, that's stop. Like, that's.
All right, we're going to take a break. Much more First Things First right after this. Welcome back to First Things First. Chris Mannix is back with us. Chris, thanks for sticking around.
Basketball in July, baby.
And listen, just real quick, just for our viewers, if we get a one shot of Mannix, take it all in, because pretty soon he's going to look very different, if I remember correctly, because Chris Mannix is about to have to shave his head.
That's right. I'm going with the Nick Wright look.
No. You're going with the true. This is a bald fade. You're going with just a bald cut.
Yes. What was the deal?
Yes.
What was the bet?
I lost a bet to Dan Patrick. I bet Celtics Cavs. We should have done a bet. He was
so wait,
in on the Cavs.
you lost because you bet against LeBron.
I did, yes.
And because of that, those beautiful locks.
I did, yes.
Dusty brown are just about to go. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so just drink it all in,
Please
America.
grow back in a month. Please grow back in a month.
When are you doing this?
July 30th, right on the air.
Nice.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
bringing my own barber, I should say, just to make sure.
BYOB, that's what I always say.
You're single, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can tell. You married guys, you can't barter your hair and everything when you're married and everything. Yeah, if you had a woman in your life, you would have bet something else. Yeah.
I think I one time bet that I would shave my head, but I do have a.
Yeah. Well done, yeah. That was well done.
Thank you very much.
The rare joke on that front from General.
I'm headed home.
I'll let her play it if you see her in the street.
On to the greatest single human living being.
Definitely going to butcher what's next.
And I did. Danny Ainge. Yep, thank you for joining us, Chris, and being on my side with this. Yesterday, Danny Ainge and the Celtics agreed with Marcus Smart on a 4-year, $52 million deal. Smart is known for his defense and his grit. He averaged 10 points and 5 assists as a key member of the Celtics bench last season. Chris Mannix, what do you make of the move that Danny Ainge made?
I like it for both. Look, Marcus Smart gets a deal that he was unlikely to get on the open market. Boston made it clear and had been making it clear to anybody that would ask them that they were going to match any kind of contract offer for Smart. And that meant teams would either have to go to a number they didn't want to or just forget about it and say we're going to move on to other people. So Smart was between a rock and a hard place. The reason this is a good deal for Boston, though, is that it gives them kind of a middle-class contract. Like, they don't have, up until this point, any middle-class contracts. All their books were max guys, Hayward, Irving, Al Horford, and then rookie-scale guys or lower-level paid guys like Daniel Tice. Boston continues to be in the market for trades, so having Marcus Smart at around $12 million, $13 million per year, that gives them a piece to throw into a deal that they would be able to use without having to give up a Horford and another max guy.
All right, so this is the Celtics absolutely needed a salary in this slot. We talked about it a month ago, that they didn't have, that they were in this spot. Max guys, rookie scale guys. But in order for a contract to be an attractive part of a trade, it has to be an attractive contract. And Marcus Smart at $14 million a year, outside of Brad Stevens' system, I don't know how many teams are interested in that. This is a guy who you can't look at his stats. I get that, because you look at the Celtics with him and without him, they're different teams. He adds, like, I don't know if it's the energy he gives them from diving on the floor, just like he's working so hard, we got to work so hard. I will give him credit for that. That's why you deal with the terrible three-point shooting and all those things. But on other teams where defense isn't their identity, where they don't have the coach in Brad Stevens, where you can mute some of the damaging things he does offensively, I don't know that I want Marcus Smart in a trade. And the discussion about this contract is all or mostly what you're talking about. Oh, now they have a tradable contract. Well, in theory. And 1 year, $14 million, sure. 2 years, $28 million, no problem. But it's 4 year, $52 in a league that we saw how hard it was for guys to get real contracts this offseason. I don't know that I love this deal if I'm trying to execute a trade with Boston.
Well, there's a couple things. And to your point, as far as them needing it, yeah, we know the rookies, they're on the rookie wage scale contract. We know they're max players. So the contract, it is attractive. But this is also insurance. This is insurance for next offseason. Kyrie Irving can be a free agent. He decides to leave. Rozier is going to be a free agent. He decides to leave. Then you still have a guard that you can maneuver, either trade, deciding what you're going to do, but you need insurance for next offseason. I also believe that the reason why you have to do this deal at this number is because he's a glue guy. He's the kind of guy that, you guys mentioned it, his stats are not going to reflect his overall impact on the game. And to me, he's proven himself in pressure situations. Can he do the types of things you need him to do? Because people change their characteristics when it's pressure. He plays exactly the way he's supposed to play. The higher the pressure, the higher the stage of the game. So that I really, really like. And I like the fact he does exactly what Brad Stevens tells him to do. He has a bad game or shooting about, Brad Stevens tell you, tear up the stat sheet. Don't look at the stat sheet as far as his overall value. So I like the connective part between him and the head coach.
And so sometimes aren't you paying for that and not necessarily paying for the statistics? You're paying for a guy that will do what you want him to do, the way you want him to do it. That'll be the lightning rod on a team, if you will.
Absolutely. I mean, you ask players in that Celtic locker room, and Marcus Smart wins games for you. And look, there's a lot, I agree, there's a lot he has to prove to make himself more valuable. But in some ways, you can throw out a lot of what he did offensively last year, because midway through the season, he punched a damn mirror and got himself a cut hand. A few weeks later, he tore up his thumb, which affected his shooting for the rest of the season. Now, he's got a couple of months till training camp. He works closely with the Celtics assistant coach, Jay Larinaga. He's got to get that three-point shooting up to around 34, 35%.
Never happened.
Oh, I don't know that it never happened. I think it's too soon to pull the shoot on that and say it's never going to happen. But he's got to become more reliable there. He's got to become more consistent as a point guard. If he does, he becomes a better version of Tony Allen. And Tony Allen had a lot of options on the market when he was in his prime. So don't discount the value he brings defensively when other teams are looking at it.
Man, this question to you. I know he's a physical player. Typically, he's going to play on the point, play a little bit off guard. Would you like to see him play a little bit smarter? Because I can understand guys who play, like Draymond. Draymond is a rugged guy. He plays a physical style. But he doesn't put himself or his body in harm's way to get hurt. Marcus Smart dives sometimes for balls that, it's a good hustle play. Is it smart, though?
I don't want to take that away from him, though. Like, if you say, don't do that as much, maybe he doesn't do it at all. I like that. Like the thumb thing, I was there in Indiana when I mean, it's just a freak injury that you jam your thumb and all of a sudden.
But why do all these type of players, they always end up getting these types of injuries? I'm just saying, as you talk about growing his game, I want a guy to grow and be smarter, because we're not as good when he's hurt. So, to me, telling him that, I don't think that's taken away his overall aggressiveness. It adds value to him. Hey, man, you know something? That little shamrock that we use, we're not the same, bro, when you're not here. So I would try to approach it more that way.
You mentioned Tony Allen. I think that is maybe a tick higher than Marcus Smart's peak defensively. Tony Allen was Defensive Player of the Year caliber perimeter defender.
Oh, I don't think so. I think Smart might have a higher ceiling defensively than Tony Allen.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, then he will be worth $14 million, even if you don't learn how to shoot. Tony Allen was arguably the best guard perimeter defender in the league for a period of time. I don't think he's that, but maybe you watch him more closely. As far as the shooting, I know he had a banged up thumb. His career is 29%. Last year was 30%. The year before that, he was 28%. Like, at Oklahoma State, dude couldn't shoot. He can't shoot the basketball. This is not.
But at least he's got a shooting coach. Ben Simmons don't have no shooting coach. Now, you swear Ben Simmons is going to improve.
I think Ben Simmons is such, again,
so
I don't
tell me your
a,
theory now for him compared to Smart.
Is
yeah,
Ben
that's a good point, because Simmons is really going to be going to his third year, basically.
Okay, sure. Here's the theory. Ben Simmons refuses to shoot. Right? So Ben Simmons refused to shoot. We have seen Marcus Smart in his career every year take at least 4 3-pointers a game and every year be terrible at it. We have seen Marcus Smart be the worst high-volume 3-point shooter in the history of pro basketball, not named Charles Barkley. Like, it's Barkley at dead last, Marcus Smart right ahead of him, and it's a much larger sample size. It is, 200 and some career games of 4 3-point attempts per game. If Ben Simmons has multiple years like his rookie year, then I'll say the guy will never learn to shoot. I think Ben Simmons was good enough at other things he was refusing to shoot. I just don't think sample size is big enough yet.
Okay, but how is Ben Simmons going to learn how to shoot? Marcus Smart, you said he's not going to get better. But how is Ben Simmons going to shoot the ball?
Switch hands
because we've seen guys improve their shooting. Like,
yeah, we have seen guys improve their shooting, which is why I think he can do it. Marcus Smart's been trying to and can't. That's why I said I don't think he's going to be able to tick it up. Draymond improved his shooting, but we saw it tick up. We're not seeing that with Smart. But the thing is, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jenna.
Okay.
Ultimately, what we're going to hear, right, is that this is going to be included in the Celtics' run at Anthony Davis. Right? I mean, that is...
And everything circles back to Anthony Davis with Boston. I mean, that's who they are waiting. I mean, not like with bated breath, but they are waiting for Anthony Davis to start grumbling a little bit, and then they can try to make their move. That's why this contract makes a lot of sense for Boston. But as a player, Marcus Smart defends 4 positions at times, and he can do it at a pretty high level. I wouldn't discount that value.
And also, I like his post-up game. Tony Allen didn't have that type of post-up game.
Tony Allen didn't have any offense.
For a small guard to be able to post up the way he does.
God, Tony Allen was the worst.
Got himself a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Tony Allen.
Joke. Chris, stick around. Coming up, Magic Johnson isn't afraid of the Warriors, but should he be? CC, time to make a comment about Jimmy G. All that next on First Things First.
Jimmy G got some dating tips for people.
Oh, boy.
Like, listen, let's go to the top.
Jimmy G's using that money wisely.
He's spreading it out now. Man,
The monies.
Back here on First Things First with Chris Mannix. We're going viral. Yesterday, Jazz guard Donovan Mitchell was working on his shot, hit 19 straight threes. We keep talking about guys who aren't working on their shot. How about a guy who is, see?
Oh, that's what we're talking about. That's what kind of video we want to see. Knocking it down. A hired gun. Bang. Knocking him down. The guy can shoot the ball. Not afraid of his jump shot. Yeah, that's why he should have been Rookie of the Year.
This guy
the
is
real rookie.
I mean, he's Dwayne Wade. He is. He is a superstar in the making.
Oh, see, why? Usually I'm the guy that goes a step too far. I think he is a superstar in the making. I think he is going to be an all-star for maybe 8-9 years. But Dwayne Wade.
I think he's Dwayne Wade. He's not Dwayne Wade now.
Dwayne Wade's the 4th greatest shooting guard ever. Let's just pause on Dwayne.
You know what I like? He broke the rookie 3-point record and still out there working on it. Not satisfied. That's the kind of pro I'm talking about.
We're putting this on the bar. Makes 19 3-pointers in a row in warm-ups with a dude watching.
But nobody got...
Makes 19 3-pointers in a row.
When someone throwing him the ball.
Come on, man.
I mean, we got the 2 top candidates for Rookie of the Year. We got Ben Simmons in L.A. with the Kardashians hitting another type of shot. My man hitting 19 threes. Come on, let's go.
Ben Simmons doing the same thing, just not he's saving it to let the people know during the season. Nah, don't video that. Don't video that. Y'all just video me when I'm out with my girl.
Do y'all remember when Blake Griffin, when he was an all-star? Remember he went through that case of just the off-season of just in Los Angeles? Then watch Ben Simmons. Just be careful, Ben. Just be careful. You're not in Australia, boy. You're not in Australia. Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's all right. I can't say no more. I love my job.
No idea. Never do. Back here with Chris Mannix.
Wallabies, Jenna. Wallabies.
We're talking Lakers. I don't think we're talking Wallabies. When LeBron went to L.A., there was no question the Warriors would be his biggest challenge. Golden State added another all-star piece in Boogie Cousins. The Lakers added 0 more all-star pieces in the Kawhi Leonard loss. Needless to say, it's not going to be easy for the Lakers, but that doesn't scare Magic Johnson.
Well, I think that, you know, we will look forward to that challenge, right? Everybody expects Golden State to win again, but I would love to have the challenge and to play them in the Western Conference Finals,
right,
if we could get to that position. So I'm a competitor, so I'm not scared of Golden State. I'm not worried about Golden State. They don't keep me up at night. I know that we have a really solid team, and a good team, and a competitive team, and a tough-minded team. And we got guys now who are winners.
All right, Chris Mannix, how big right now is the gap between where the Lakers are and where the Warriors are?
I mean, look, it's the size of the gap between Oakland and Los Angeles. I mean, it's enormous right now because they're in two entirely different positions. Now, look, I get what Magic Johnson was saying there. You don't want a guy to come out and be like, yeah, we're terrified of the boogeyman. I mean, what's he supposed to say in a situation like that? But the Warriors are a team with 4, maybe 5 all-stars in DeMarcus Cousins when he comes back healthy. The Lakers are a team with 1 great player and a whole bunch of unknowns. Now, I disagree with a lot of what the Lakers did this offseason. I don't think what they put around LeBron James is going to work. I would have been more proactive in going to get Kawhi Leonard, but they're in 2 entirely different places organizationally.
If they had added Kawhi, we could have this discussion. Magic also want to talk small ball. If you added Kawhi and you want to say, oh, LeBron at the center, he going to erase Draymond and then some. Kawhi at the 4. Okay, Kawhi versus KD, that's a real matchup. Now, they got to have real issues in the backcourt, but if they'd added Kawhi, we can start to have this discussion. They didn't add Kawhi. They added Lance Stevenson and Rajon Rondo. And so I don't mind what they did this offseason because I don't think there are great players available on one-year deals. You know, I think could they have added a guy like Bellinelli? Could they have tried to get Korver because he seems to be on his way out of Cleveland? Sure, but that doesn't, while you might be upgrading offensively over the guys you got, you're not upgrading defensively. You're not upgrading as far as your ability to switch defensively. So there aren't great players on one-year deals. I get why they wanted to keep maximum flexibility for superstars, but right now the Warriors are not who the Lakers are competing with.
Right.
The Lakers are competing with that next tier of teams. Spurs, Thunder, Portland, Utah, that's the tier to me. The Lakers
I don't even think they're competing with that tier. I mean, they're competing with like Denver, whoever was going to fall into Minnesota's slot there. I mean,
so you think they're going to be fighting just to make the playoffs?
Oh yeah. I don't like. That's what I mean. I don't like what they did at all with this group. And one of the risks you run with putting this group together. Look, we all know they're targeting the summer of 2019, whoever it may be, whatever guys they may be looking for. You look at a team like the Knicks, to make a comparison here. The Knicks are doing the same thing. They're looking at the summer of 2019 as well. And on their agenda this year is to make themselves look like a functional franchise. For the last 2 decades, the Knicks have looked dysfunctional. This time, they're going short-term contracts, low-profile type of players. They're going to ease Porzingis back into it and develop some young guys. The Lakers, even though they have LeBron, and that's the biggest attraction of them all, the Lakers could look like a 3-ring circus out there. You could have, in October, Lonzo, LeVar, and Rondo going at it. In November, you could have Lance Stevenson and LeBron James going on it. In December, it could be a series of leagues that Luke Walton can't coach. All of a sudden, you become this dysfunctional atmosphere, and that doesn't play well with free agents. Talk about Klay Thompson. I mean, he's not going to be on their radar. Like, why would Klay Thompson leave one of the most functional organizations in basketball to go to Los Angeles? Is LeBron James that big a recruiting asset to overcome all of that?
Yeah, I believe that the gap is as far as we are from Los Angeles, being in New York. That's how far the gap is. I'm not going to allow this conversation to allow people to be on the same block as Golden State. They've earned that. And they've added Boogie Cousins. I'm with you. I don't like the contracts. It's almost as if once they didn't get Kawhi, now that as if they punted on this year. Now, they didn't sign long-term bad, so they're not strapped for 19. They can make those aggressive plays. But for this year, as far as the championship, yeah, there's no need for Magic to lose any sleep because you're not on the same corner. You're not in the same conversation. Your prep is for next year when you can add another superstar to LeBron.
Hold on real quick. You're assigning drama for a team that last year, aside from LeVar Ball, was drama-free.
That's like saying,
well, we don't talk
aside
we
from
don't,
this earthquake, the World Series was fine.
Right.
Like, it's not the...
No, that is not like it. Because it was not drama caused by anyone on the team or in the organization. It was not D'Angelo Russell and Nick Young.
Right.
That was a real thing with a blue-chip draft prospect who basically tweeted or Instagrammed or whatever.
on a losing team.
Absolutely.
And we don't pay attention to the losing teams compared to, we pay attention to the stars and we pay attention to the big franchise.
Right,
but you you finish your thought there. But I mean, one of the reasons there wasn't season-long drama about it is Lonzo missed 30 games. Like, if he came back, if he played the full season, we could have had.
LeBron wasn't there, and Lance
let's just
wasn't there.
imagine that the dad says the same thing this year he said last year. Luke Walton don't know what he's doing. My son's got to play more minutes. He don't know how to utilize them. If he says the same thing this year, now you're talking about whatever you want to call it. It's going to be on in Los Angeles. And every time LeBron is around, there's always, you can call him what you want to, there's going to be some stuff.
Of course.
That's going to be around the Lakers.
And there's going to be more reporters covering the team, more guys searching for stories, more reasons for things to come out. That comes part and parcel with LeBron. But Lance Stevenson, the idea that drama has followed him around his career, that's not true. He's not a very good player, and he has a silly, in his own head, rivalry with now his teammate LeBron, but he's not a guy that all of a sudden is like, oh, all this drama surrounding Lance. JaVale McGee, it's just because Shaq decided he hates him, and so he always makes fun of him on television, that JaVale McGee's got a reputation other than what he is. Like,
why do we talk about J.R. Smith the way we do?
What? Because JR's been a knucklehead everywhere he's been.
No, because he's with LeBron.
No.
Look,
before JR got there, he got thrown out of playoff games for what he did, I think, a Celtic with the elbow. Go ahead.
This is what I know. I've been on TV for JR's whole career. All right? And JR might have been a little subplot, a little funny little story, a little something, but never the attention that he got once he joined LeBron James. Kevin Love. Look at the amount of attention.
For sure.
No one has gotten the type of attention. Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, there is a different set of eyeballs on you and on that coaching staff with LeBron being there.
I'm just trying to grasp what you're saying here because, well, one thing about Lance is, yeah, he's been dramatic in other places. I mean, other teams have run away from him. Charlotte ran away from him.
Because
New Orleans
was not an effective player.
But there was stuff happening behind the scenes, too. I've heard of stuff about late for meetings and drama at practices, things like that. He's in Indiana, and mostly because he was afraid of Larry Bird for, like, his entire career, that he was kept in line for as long as he was. I just look, and I've said this before, this is an incredibly combustible situation in Los Angeles, and that doesn't, to circle it back to the free agency stuff and getting better beyond, that doesn't play well for free agents. You want to see, discipline. You want to see a team ready to take that next step when you join them.
Listen, if we are just going to assign things that have not happened, then yeah, listen, they could win 30 games. LeBron could for the first time get injured, and it's all a mess. None of this has happened yet. Obviously, anyone that signs to play with the Lakers and LeBron knows we are entering a whirlwind. It is the most talked about athlete in America. I will be joining his team. I get that part of it. But the idea that we're now deciding that, okay, we're gonna have a Rondo controversy here, a Lance controversy.
We've already said we did the same thing with Boogie Cousins. Boogie Cousins joining Golden State. We've already baked in. There's gonna be some situations.
But no general manager has to work less hard than Magic Johnson in getting a big-time free agent next year. Kawhi's already said, this is where I want to be, regardless of whatever the Clippers are going to do.
But Paul George said the same thing. I don't... if it turns out that they're functional, sorry.
No, I guess my question would be, with him, are they still 2 tiers below the top? Two tiers with Kawhi and
with
LeBron?
Kawhi, no, they're with Kawhi, they're on that middle tier still. They're not competing with Golden State yet because you don't compete with 4 Hall of Famers plus DeMarcus with just Kawhi Leonard and Lonzo Ball. But getting him moves you a step closer, puts you in that pack. Without him, I put them fighting for that 8th seed in this year's playoffs.
You can't miss the fact what happens in L.A. this year will affect Kawhi Leonard.
Yes.
The Clippers are available.
Right. And listen, and Manny's got to shave his head at the end of the month.
Yes.
We can bet that the Lakers will finish better than the 7th seed, and you can shave your head again.
What if I just frosted tips the buzz there? With that? Okay.
Weird. Things got awkward. Thank you for being here today.
Good to see you, brother.
Frosted tips tip. Coming up, James Harrison has some harsh words for Mike Tomlin. That's next. That's football. It's first things first. Welcome back to First Things First. We are going viral. So we all remember the original mural of LeBron that was vandalized in L.A. A new one appeared. Check this out. Isn't this the third reincarnation of this? LeBron looking up at some Laker legends, Kobe, Shaq, Magic, Kareem, Wilt.
It's a great mural, and it's a really cool concept. It's a different artist, and you can really tell whomever the first artist was, what an amazing painter he is, because the detail from that one compared to this one. But this is probably a better concept for Laker fans and the Kobe fans who haven't fully warmed up to the idea of LeBron.
Well, they went a little too strong on the first one, right?
Yes.
LeBron is king.
They should have had
LeBron
him looking up and everything.
LeBron is a guy now. LeBron is human.
Lakers fans are serious about their history.
Homo sapien. Yeah.
Okay.
Got you. Jenna was continuing going. Chris had moved on.
I know.
Chris had moved on. Jenna was just trying to go to full world history, which I'm typically a fan of.
Not this time.
Chris was thrown off a little bit by the Homo sapien component, but we got you, bro.
Time for Take Your Pick.
What that was like. I thought she's going to tell a Steinfeld joke. Is that? Oh, it's Seinfeld.
I like the
Last year, Deshaun Watson lit up the NFL, thrown for 19 touchdowns in 7 games. His season was cut short with a torn ACL, but Watson says he's full go, ready to go for training camp. Who are you picking to win the AFC South, the Texans or the field? Nick, let's start with you. Take your pick.
Going with long shot here. Going with the Texans. They got the best quarterback in the division, I believe. And they also have... I know what the Jags did last year. I think Blake Bortles has a correction back to being Blake Bortles. And I think...
What did he correct from last year?
Last year, he was, by Blake Bortles standards, he was better than he had been. There's no question about it. See, last year was the second best year of Blake's career. Blake was decent in year 3, and last year he was one of the best we've seen from him. And you mentioned it when we were talking about the Texans earlier. They were ravaged by injuries on defense. They get J.J. Watt back. They get Whitney Merciless back. They still have Jadeveon Clowney. They added our guy Honey Badger. I like the Texans to win this division.
No, I'm going to take the field, and the Jaguars are for real. The Jaguars' defensive front 7, the Texans will not be able to block them. The Texans will probably be one of the 4th bad offensive lines. That's what they'll be in. 28th, 29th, 3rd. That's the category they'll be in the bottom. So, no, I'll take the rest of the field and watch Andrew Luck coming back with the Colts.
All right, sticking with the NFL, yesterday linebacker James Harrison made waves when he said that Bill Belichick is by far a better coach than Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. So which coach would you rather play for, Tomlin or Belichick? CC, take your pick.
Well, this is not a real fair question for me because I spent a lot of my career playing for Dennis Green, which I believe is a version of Mike Tomlin. And also on that staff was Tony Dungy, who went on to be another successful coach. But if you're talking about one season or one game, I'm going to take Bill Belichick. The reason why? Because Chris doesn't have to worry about everything else, other people doing the right thing. All I got to do is do my job. It would be one of the easiest days or easiest seasons I would have ever had because that guy is making sure that everyone is doing what they were supposed to do.
It's a tough question for Seed. It's not a tough question for me. My answer is Mike Tomlin. I like a coach that will trust me to do my job, not try to micromanage me. Also a coach that I can have a conversation with, maybe have a relationship with. Mike Tomlin would be the guy I would rather play for. Not that I plan to be playing anytime soon.
Good shot at that. On to the NBA. Carmelo Anthony was traded to the Hawks yesterday.
Are you going to be a whiteout on that team? Because
he'll be white. Where he will be waived.
I know you're route running. I've seen a few of them.
And all signs indicate that Melo will sign with the Rockets. So what would be best role for Melo with Houston? 6th man or starter? Chris, take your pick.
The best role for him would be the 6th man. But in Melo's mind, he thinks he's still a starter. So I'm going to go with what the player thinks. I'm not going to try to change his overall psyche and everything. He thinks he's a starter. He still thinks he's a premier scorer. No problem, Melo. I'm going to buy into it. Well, I'm going to buy you out of that. I'm going to buy into it just like everyone else did. So I'm going to make you a starter for another year when you really should be on the bench coming off.
Given the roster Houston has, starter's the answer. They don't have 2 forwards better than Carmelo Anthony. They have P.J. Tucker and Melo. Gerald Green's a fine bench player. Ryan Anderson's fine in spot roles. James Ennis, the guy they added, is definitely a bench player. None of those rookies are. So given the roster that they have, had they brought everyone back, then Trevor Ariza is your starter. But Trevor Ariza is gone, so starter's the role for Carmelo Anthony.
All right, yesterday reports surfaced that the Lakers are excited about their own death lineup to match up against the Warriors. It would consist of Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, and the King James, manning the middle. So who's a better small ball center, LeBron James or Draymond Green? Nick, take your pick.
I mean, this is easy, even though LeBron's played very little of this position in his career and Draymond's played a ton of it. The answer is LeBron James. Like, LeBron James would be an ideal small ball center. We've seen that his ability when pressed into this role, he can be an adequate, if not above average rim defender, and everything else you would ask from your small ball center, LeBron James is an A+ at. So LeBron, it's an easy question.
Yeah, I think we're about a year or two away from really small ball. LeBron needs another superstar with him for small ball to be effective. That's what makes Golden State. They play small ball with 3 superstars. So the matchups there are in their favor. So a couple years away, this is not a question. LeBron James, when he decides to go into that role, he will be the best small ball 5 that we've ever seen.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Chris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolf. So long, everybody.